How's it going, everybody? Thanks for stopping by here today for another video. Now this one, the idea I have behind it is that my last video was a little bit heavier in content. So in essence, I wanted to make this one a lot more, how do you say, accessible, easy to laugh at. And if you've never heard of the type of video that I'm doing here today, I'd like to introduce you to the wacky and wild world of tier lists. Tier lists are something that have kind of taken the internet by storm here pretty recently. And I couldn't be more happy for that because they've always been something that I found very entertaining. Because one, you get to see how other people's minds work in their ranking of things and their understanding of things. But it also leads to some pretty fun little debates and fiery conversations between friends over things that are like, really? And today I'm bringing you a tier list video. You'll see how it works in just a second, where I'm going to put into the tiers a variety of different worship leaders. I think I should use this opportunity to explain just a couple things real quick. I want to emphasize that this video is strictly done in jest and it's in good fun. I want it to be known that when I go into worship, when I listen to worship music, I'm not strictly doing it for my own enjoyment, okay? I don't see anything wrong with acknowledging that some worship music sounds better to me than others, okay? Can we do that? Can we just move on from that? And if you have any qualms, any differences in what you would rank something, then that's really the entire point of this whole video, so drop it in the comments, at me next time, I don't know, send me something. If you think I left anyone off this list, send them to me and I might do an extended version or something if this catches enough fire, I don't know. All that being said, I want to go ahead and get into it because I know that potentially this could end up taking a little bit longer than I expect it to. Alright, so here is what we're looking at for the tier list. Alright, so basically I'm just going to be making my way down this list. I should just flash up the names and pictures of the people that I am currently putting into the tiers as I do them. Okay, so first we have Amanda Cook. Amanda Cook, as well as a couple others you'll see appear on this list, are singers within kind of the realm of Bethel. I chose to put most of the Bethel worship leaders on here as solo acts instead of just the Bethel collective. And so Amanda Cook is kind of what I always describe as the really emo, the really moody song type of person. My favorite song by her is Starlight. I would highly recommend that song. And so that really speaks to my personality. I think she's got some absolute bangers, and I think I would just be flat out wrong if I did not put Amanda Cook on S tier. And S tier, if you don't know, is basically, think of maybe super tier. And so it goes S, A, B, C, D, E, F. You can kind of get the gist from there. But so Amanda Cook, I am putting in the number one, the S tier. Number two, we are moving on to All Sons and Daughters. Now this is another band, another worship band that I really, really, really like. And I like them for several reasons, the biggest of which I think they just sing gospel truths really well. I love their melodies, and their live performances especially are fantastic. Their song Your Glory / Nothing But the Blood is just... So All Sons and Daughters, although I like them very, very much, I'm going to put them in the A tier. Just because I don't quite think they match up to S tier level, although they are very, very top notch. Number three, we're going with my man, Cory Asbury. And I really like Cory Asbury, especially his new album. I highly recommend, not just Reckless Love, but... Now Cory is one of these really tough ones, because while I love almost his entire new album, it gets a little formulaic at times to the point where I don't know if I can give him S tier level. I'm gonna stick him in A tier. So Cory Asbury goes in A tier. I like Water and Dust a lot by him. So next we're moving on over to Elevation. If you haven't heard of Elevation, I don't know if you've heard of anyone on this list because they are huge. This one's going to be one that I think I'm going to get a lot of flack from a lot of people on this one. I'm not the biggest Elevation fan, but believe it or not, not the biggest Elevation fan. That being said, they do have a few songs that I listen to that I think are they're pretty good. I just wouldn't elevate Elevation to that high of a level. I think one of my big issues with Elevation is just like watching them, especially doing their live sets and things like that. I don't really like the feel that they go about things with. Megachurch celebrity status kind of thing. I don't know if that's something I'm picking up on. This is my tier list, okay? And also their songs, more often than not, get very, very repetitive and just kind of boring to listen to. I would very much recommend, if you haven't heard it especially, Here Is in Heaven. All that being said, Elevation is absolutely D rank at me, okay? I know some of you really like Elevation. Not this guy. Geez, okay, that one took a while to explain. We're gonna move on to Housefires. Now, Housefires has some bangers. They're one of these bands that a lot of times they'll cover worship songs that are already out there. The thing about Housefires is that they do that really, really well, in my opinion. I would highly recommend their song On and On. I can't get enough of that song right now. And so I would stick Housefires up here at B. Moving on, we will go to one that I'm not sure everyone's heard of, but you should hear of if you haven't. It's called Isla Vista Worship. Isla Vista Worship. However, Isla Vista, let me tell you something. They make some absolute fire tracks, dude. They're very artsy indie feel. They also have almost kind of home church acoustic set albums. I would highly recommend almost anything from Isla Vista. The biggest banger that they have right now is a song that they actually recently just came out with. It's called 814. And holy cow, I cannot get enough of 814. At any rate, Isla Vista 100% gets S tier for me. Moving right on from that, we got Jeremy Riddle. Jeremy Riddle has a lot of well-known songs. He's a pretty big name in the whole worship leader industry. I first even heard of him way back in middle school, I believe, when he had his song Furious. That song still goes pretty hard, and I like a lot of Jeremy Riddle songs. However, just his voice, and I'd say about half of the songs that he makes, it's not my favorite, okay? I would describe him as the perfectly middle artist here. Like, if anyone's deserving of C tier, I believe Jeremy Riddle is just, perfectly so. Moving on, we actually, this gal, I don't know if as many of y'all are familiar with her. She is one of the Bethel singers. And her name is Kalley Heiligenthal. I hope I say that right. She was the one that came out with the song Ever Be, by the way. Really great song. That's the one I'd recommend by her. She really just has several just really good songs. I like Spirit Move by her. Anyway. She is by far the most underrated person on this list, in my opinion. She sings great songs for Bethel. Her voice is just beautiful. Especially on Ever Be. You can just hear it in some of the riffs that she does. I will put Kalley one tier below Amanda Cook, although she's very Amanda Cook-esque. Very passionate, very moody. She even kind of resembles her a little bit, kind of looks like her. Not quite S. I think she needs a few more really high-level songs for me to have put her on S tier. Moving on, we got the big boys up in here. Passion. Now, if you haven't heard of Passion, they're all over the place in a lot of different ways. I do not like Passion. They're really, they're the kind of worship band that almost always gets on the radio. To me, their songs come off as the songs that they almost know the rhythm for what's going to get popular and what they need to do to get on the radio, something like that. They are almost F tier for me. However, I'm going to put them at E tier because honestly, guys, I know everyone and their mom has heard it. I know it's the very thing that I just said I didn't like, but I love their live recording of Glorious Day, alright? Sue me. And they have another song called Holy Ground, but that I can't help but like. So Passion is redeemed up to an E tier just based on the fact that I did like their song Holy Ground and their song Glorious Day that much, okay? But still, Passion, it's an overall, it's a no for me, alright? Moving on up, we got Shane and Shane. Now, Shane and Shane have been around for quite some time, and I know that they put on fantastic live performances, and if I do ever get the chance to finally see them live, I know they'll probably move up a tier. I'm not going to beat around the bush with them. I'm putting them at a B. To me, it's a big part. I think, one, they've kind of been off their game a little bit with the last couple releases that they have. I hate to be that guy, but I like a lot of their old stuff a lot more. Oh, they were, you haven't heard their old stuff. They were better when they had their old stuff. And also, they release a lot of content, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I would rather them make a long album, but take a little more time in doing so just to kind of perfect some of the audio parts of it. This is just me trying to justify why they're at a B and not higher, because I do like Shane and Shane songs quite a bit. They're above average for sure. Their song Lord of Hosts is definitely one I'd recommend. Shane and Shane, though, solid B for me. Alright, we're moving on to basically the Steph Curry of worship music, Steffany Gretzinger. If you haven't heard of Steffany Gretzinger, again, I don't know if you've heard of anyone off this list, because she is a huge name in worship circles today. I'm going to keep this one short and simple. She makes good songs. She sings so well. I know people have maybe theological issues with, or maybe their consciences are disturbed by the way she worships. I don't get that personally, and I think I would just be flat out wrong if I didn't stick my girl old Steffany, up here at S tier. Oh yeah, and I would, what song would I recommend from her? I'm really liking Extravagant, I think, the most at the moment. Moving on from Steffany Gretzinger, we are going to Upperroom. Upperroom, I think I have the perfect way to describe them, and I can kind of breeze through this one. They are almost exactly like Housefires, except just a little bit worse. That sounds kind of rude to Upperroom, but honestly, most of the times I just find myself wanting to listen to another version of a song rather than Upperroom's. That being said, there are several of Upperroom's versions that I find very good. Very good. And I would recommend Defender by Upperroom. And so they are going to get a C rank from me because they're good. They're good. I don't always go to their versions of the songs, but I've even been to Upperroom in Dallas, and it's not a bad little joint. So moving on from Upperroom, we are going to Will Reagan. Now Will Reagan is especially popular around the circles that I hang around. It's kind of good music just to kind of put on in the background and kind of chill out to. And I think Will Reagan makes very good songs, and I think he performs them very well. I like his voice. Maybe his songs get played too much around the circles that I'm in or something, but maybe for that reason, I'm not putting him at S tier. But I will give him A, especially because I really like the new song that he just put out. It's called Spirit and Soul. I especially like Nothing I Hold On To. That one's a solid song. And if you've never heard of Will Reagan, definitely try putting him on. I think he has some fire tracks. Moving on, we have Brian and Jenn Johnson. Now, both Brian and Jenn, I do not have many of their songs, and it's because I don't typically like the versions they do at all. I especially don't like Brian Johnson. I haven't found a song of his that I really like at all, and I think it's his voice. I'm sorry, Brian. I respect you. I just do not prefer your recordings of things, all right? I'm sorry. Now, Jenn Johnson has a song called In Over My Head that she did with Bethel, and that song, I think, keeps Brian and Jenn Johnson from moving to the F tier, but I will give them a solid E. Okay, anyway, moving on from them. I included David Crowder on this list. I've actually seen David Crowder perform live several times. This man's been around for quite some time. I'm sure when I say David Crowder, a lot of people, especially even out of the church, have heard of David Crowder. Now, David Crowder is what I would describe as exactly not my type. He's got the same issue I brought up with Crowder, Passion earlier, not himself. Sounds very formulaic, and really overall I just do not like Crowder's style. I still haven't found a song from David Crowder that I like, or a version of his songs that I like. So for all of these reasons, David Crowder goes in the F tier. Our first introduction to F tier, and it is a man who has been around for a very long time. Alright, moving on, we have Hunter GK Thompson. Now, my man Hunter, on first listen way back when, I did not like his voice at all. I feel like we have kind of almost a similar voice in the sense where both of ours are a little bit higher tone-wise. And so I found myself being able to sing to his songs, which I like being able to actually sing the notes to songs. And I found that he is a really good songwriter. I think I'd be amiss if I didn't say his new album is just fire heat, boy. Absolutely, I think I've come to the point where Hunter, at this time in my life at least, is an S tier rank. So Hunter, my dude, welcome to the S tier. Next up we have my dude, my guy, my bro, John Mark McMillan, the legend himself. If you haven't heard of John Mark McMillan, he has the most interesting or unique voice in the entire genre. And I love John Mark's songwriting ability. I like many songs of his, and he's very indie-esque in his approach. But John Mark, I have found sometimes he's so unique to the point where I would prefer just not to listen to his versions of things. Like, his uniqueness almost becomes a handicap to him at some points. Like, Isla Vista is just so loving and affectionate toward God that I'm just immersed in their uniqueness. John Mark is to the point where it almost kind of takes away from the reason I'm listening to him. I love his style, I love the man, but he's going in B tier. That feels a little bit disrespectful to say because I know he's been around a long time, and I and so many others I know love his music, and I would recommend his song Enemy, Love. However, for those reasons listed, and just kind of general feeling when I listen to him, he belongs in B tier. We're moving on to Jonathan and Melissa Helser. Now, they're another very unique type of worship leader. I know many a person in my circles who love Jonathan and Melissa Helser. Again, it's not that I don't love them. However, I would say they have the same problem that I just listed with John Mark, except that I like the songs that they perform a lot less than I like John Mark's songs. I've been really liking their song Strength lately, so I'd recommend that song. However, I don't know if you see what I mean by what the description I gave or anything, but for that reason, they will go in the D tier. Moving straight on out from that, we have Josh Baldwin. I believe he's actually a Bethel singer. I could be wrong in that. Do not quote me in that. I really like his song Abraham. He has a new album, and I like it, and like several of the songs off of it, I like them. And especially if I'm in the right mood for it, I don't mind listening to a Josh Baldwin song. I find his voice pretty good. However, Josh Baldwin is almost the same exact boat as Jeremy Riddle. I'm not always feeling what he's putting down. If Jeremy Riddle's not the perfect C tier for me, then Josh Baldwin is. We're in the last four here, and we're on to Kim Walker-Smith. I found in all of my circles of worship music listening that Kim Walker-Smith is one of the most polarizing worship leaders that we have on this list. People either really love Kim Walker-Smith or people really dislike Kim Walker-Smith. Again, I haven't heard any complaints with what she's singing. It's this tier list and the things that I just mentioned are specifically based on, I guess, how she's singing. I'm actually not the biggest Kim Walker-Smith fan, so I'm more toward the other side of that spectrum. Even if it's not intended, and I know this isn't something that she would ever intend, I just miss out on a little bit of maybe authenticity with her voice. Again, that's not a her problem, that's a me listening problem. I'm putting her in the E tier. I like her song Spirit Breakout. I like her version of Spirit Breakout. It's the only version of that song that I like. Other than that, though, E tier. Oh yes, and now we move on to Mosaic MSC. Mosaic MSC is one of the biggest names out there right now, especially after their release of that song Tremble. The song I'd recommend from them is off that same album, but it's called Not Afraid. I've been jamming to that song. And overall, I really like Mosaic's worship band sound. I won't just spend the whole day booling out on Mosaic MSC soundtracks or anything, but the songs that I do like, I like a lot, and for that reason, they're definitely above average. I would say at this moment in time, at this time in my life, only just, especially since I haven't really loved, I think they have a new album. I haven't liked a song off that yet. So I'll absolutely stick Mosaic MSC at B tier. All right, our last two that we have here. Number one is Phil Wickham. Phil Wickham, just another huge name out there right now. I have to say, I love Phil Wickham's songs in general. I think I'm most into right now one of the songs he has through Spotify called Till I Found You. I know it's more than just on the Spotify single, but his Spotify single version of it is just, it's fire heat. So Phil Wickham, he is probably I'm most conflicted, I think, on this whole list on Phil Wickham. He is either an A tier or a B tier. I would almost lean more toward B tier because of my dislike for his radio produced songs. I'm trying not to let that factor in here for any of these guys, but it's hard not to, especially with Phil. For his acoustic sets and for his live worship sets and things like that, I want to stick him in A tier though. So Phil Wickham, I know this is kind of cheating, but I'm going to leave him directly on the line up there between A and B. Moving on, we are ending on a high note with Chris Tomlin. My goodness, Chris Tomlin, you would have to be living under a rock in any sort of American way to not have heard of Chris Tomlin at this point. This man's been at it for a long time, and I respect the game. I still listen to his old song, Indescribable, from time to time. However, really from that point of Indescribable on, I can't get into anything that Chris Tomlin puts out. But like you saw in one of my past videos, Good Good Father is one of my least favorite songs of all time. And so, for those reasons, I'm sorry to disrespect the game, Chris. Keep doing what you're doing, man. But Chris Tomlin definitely goes down as F tier for me. And at that, I just want to thank you guys for sticking around through the whole video if you did, or if you just skipped forward to see the conclusion of all the ranks. Fair enough. If you have any disputes, or if you feel like I left anyone out, go ahead and leave those either in the comments, just hit me up. Beyond that, give this video a like, dislike, and until then, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.